If you stripped modern humanity of all its tools, no stoves, no lighters, no power, no synthetic gear, how long would we last? It's an uncomfortable question, but one worth asking. Because the truth is, long before GPS systems, survival guides, and freeze-dried rations, our Ice Age ancestors endured an environment that would kill most modern people in a single night. Yet they thrived for thousands of years. Their secret wasn't high-tech prepping or endless stockpiles. It was a mindset and a skill so simple and powerful that it still outperforms most modern survival gear today. It's the lost art of natural insulation, the ability to trap, conserve, and recycle body heat using nothing but the materials around you. And when we look closely at how Ice Age humans did it, we uncover lessons that every serious survivalist, prepper, and outdoorsman should still be practicing today. True survival in the Ice Age wasn't about stockpiling, it was about adaptation. The Ice Age was the ultimate proving ground for human endurance. Temperatures across much of Europe and Asia regularly plunged below freezing for months at a time. Game was scarce, and there were no permanent shelters or reliable fires. Survival wasn't a matter of hoarding resources. It was about understanding the natural systems around you and making them work in your favor. Archaeological digs at sites like Dolní Věstonice in the Czech Republic and Mezherych in Ukraine show that Ice Age humans built entire living systems around insulation, not just in clothing, but in bedding, shelter, and even food preparation. They learned that warmth wasn't about generating heat, but about preventing its loss. That's the foundation of what we now call passive survival. And it's something most modern preppers overlook completely. Today, many survivalists focus on external solutions, generators, synthetic blankets, or chemical heat packs. But those are temporary aids. When those fail, the principles our ancestors mastered are what keep you alive. The first rule of Ice Age survival was simple: never sleep on the bare ground. Contact with frozen soil, you see, pulls body heat away even faster than exposure to open air. Our ancestors solved this using what scientists call thermal layering of natural materials. They built bedding out of moss, straw, pine needles, animal hides and grasses, materials rich in trapped air pockets that insulated against the cold. In practice, they created what modern survival instructors call a dead airspace barrier. This simple principle is still used by militaries and Arctic explorers today. The air trapped inside layers of organic material acts as an insulator, reducing heat transfer between your body and the environment. If you want to apply this in the field today, it's straightforward, but honestly, quite critical. Even in modern camping, always build a barrier at least 4 to 6 inches thick between yourself and the ground. Use dry materials, pine boughs, leaves, bark, or straw, and lay your blanket or sleeping bag on top. The thicker the layer, the more body heat you retain. It's one of the oldest human survival techniques, and yet most campers still skip it, relying on gear alone. Before the Ice Age, humans used woven grasses and bark fibres for clothing. But as the world grew colder, they evolved their wardrobe. They learned to tan hides and preserve fur with remarkable efficiency. Excavations of early human sites show that caribou, mammoth and bison hides were used not only for warmth, but for insulation layering. One hide fur side in to trap warmth, another fur side out to repel wind and snow. Unlike modern synthetics, fur has a dual-layer structure, hollow outer hairs and dense underfur, creating unmatched thermal retention. Even when damp, it maintained warmth, because air remained trapped between fibres. Modern preppers can still use this knowledge effectively. Wool blankets, sheepskin coats and natural fur still outperform most synthetic insulation in extreme cold. A single wool layer can retain up to 80% of its insulating power when wet, a fact that could mean the difference between life and death in freezing weather. You know, contrary to popular belief, Ice Age people didn't depend entirely on fire to stay warm. Fire was precious, often difficult to start, and sometimes, well, impossible to maintain in high winds. Instead, they used it strategically to preheat sleeping areas, dry bedding, and warm stones. Heated stones were placed beneath hides or inside bedding pits, radiating heat for hours after the fire burned out. This technique, stone banking, is still effective today. To replicate it, heat a few fist-sized stones near your fire, but do avoid river stones, as trapped moisture can cause them to explode. Then wrap them in fabric or moss and place them inside your shelter or beneath your bedding. It's a natural, long-lasting heat source that doesn't rely on constant fuel. The Ice Age survivors knew that warmth had to be stored, not wasted. They also mastered airflow management. Shelters were designed with low ceilings and small entrances, reducing heat loss. Some used animal skins as doors, effectively creating primitive insulation flaps. This method actually mirrors modern Arctic snow shelters and even the designs of Inuit igloos. Proof that ancient humans understood the physics of heat retention long before science explained it. One of the most overlooked survival skills from the Ice Age was how humans managed energy. Every movement, breath and decision was made with heat in mind. They didn't burn calories unnecessarily. They moved slowly, rested efficiently, and even slept in close groups to conserve warmth. A practice known as thermal grouping. In cold environments, this principle is still valid. When body temperature drops, energy output skyrockets to maintain internal warmth. By minimizing movement and using shared body heat, you conserve both calories and energy. Soldiers in polar regions and mountaineers still practice this by sleeping shoulder to shoulder or back to back in confined spaces. Another practical application is learning how to regulate body temperature through controlled ventilation. Just as Ice Age humans adjusted their hides to vent moisture, modern preppers should manage sweating in cold conditions. Sweat kills insulation. Open your clothing slightly while moving to prevent dampness, and seal it tight during rest to trap heat. In the end, the greatest lesson from our Ice Age ancestors isn't about gear, it's about understanding. You see, they didn't survive because they had more tools. They survived because they understood the environment. They knew how to read snowdrift patterns to find shelter, how to use moss as insulation, and how to conserve energy through every part of their daily routine. That knowledge is what modern prepping often misses. Stockpiles run out, technology fails, but understanding how to work with nature to build warmth, conserve energy and adapt your environment doesn't expire. The Ice Age survivors carried those skills in their hands and heads, not their packs. So, the next time you plan a cold weather trip or think about long-term preparedness, challenge yourself to use fewer tools and more awareness. Build a shelter from natural materials. Test your ability to stay warm using passive insulation. Rediscover what your ancestors already knew. That survival starts with the knowledge of how to live with the cold, not fight it. For more deep dives into forgotten fieldcraft, ancient ingenuity, and the survival skills that shaped humanity's toughest generations? Make sure you subscribe to Backyard Wisdom, share this video, and help keep the world's oldest lessons alive for the next one.